What is going on, Pats Nation? It's your boy Colby with Patriots Global back here with another video, and in this one, you can clearly see that we are kicking it old school Patriots Global into this video. Rather than showing my face on the screen, I thought that you guys would probably be more interested in seeing actual photos from rookie minicamp. So of course, with that being said, these are all photos that were taken from the mandatory 2 days of rookie minicamp that occurred on both Friday and Saturday. Now, this year was a little bit different from recent years because the media was actually allowed into rookie minicamp for the first time in over a decade. This is something that Bill Belichick really never let the media into. For what reason, we don't know. But we do know that with Javon Baker taking over, he wants to have the media a lot more involved with the process. Now, just for reference, these notes are only going to come from Saturday's practice because, like I said, this was a 2-day mandatory minicamp for the rookies, both on Friday and Saturday, but the media was only allowed into Saturday's practice. Keep in mind, too, guys, this isn't competitive practices. This isn't training camp. Keep in mind, too, that it's only rookies and UDFAs, okay? So you're not having Jacoby Brissett, Pop Douglas, Christian Gonzalez. So don't ask in the comments how those guys are looking because they were not at this practice. This is specifically just for the new guys to get acclimated as we start to enter OTAs, mandatory minicamp, and then training camp. Also keep in mind too, guys, this is early on in the process, so it really isn't all that competitive. As each practice kind of occurs, it'll start to get more and more competitive, right? It starts rookie minicamp, then OTAs, then mandatory minicamp, finishing off OTAs, and then training camp. As each phase of the process goes on, it's going to start to get more and more competitive. Although, do not expect pads to go on until a few days or a week into training camp. These practices for the rookies, like I said, is all about getting acclimated. They have helmets that they got fitted for, but other than that, there are no pads, there's no contact. So first and foremost, to hop into the practice, like we always start, we have to start with the absences. With this being said, there was only one absence, and it was a UDFA offensive tackle for the Patriots, Zuri Henry. I know a lot of you might not be very familiar with him, so you might be saying, well, that doesn't really matter. This was a guy that I was actually really interested in seeing with the Patriots throughout the process. And we don't know if he was cut. We don't know if he just wasn't at, practice today. But he is the only rookie that has actual experience over at left tackle. So this is a guy that as long as he can stay throughout camp, he is going to be in the mix to try to fight for that starting left tackle roster spot and even serve as that depth to rotational piece over on the left side too. But other than that, everybody was there between, tryout players, between UDFA signings, and the entire 2024 draft class. Overall, like I said, it wasn't a very competitive day, but the media was able to see both Drake Maye and Joe Milton flash their abilities as passers, right? We were able to see them throw deep a little bit. We especially were able to see the velocity on the ball. And let me tell you, when it came to Joe Milton, he showed exactly what we all said heading into and both out of the draft, is that this is a guy that is going to throw a ball 80 yards down the field, and it is going to absolutely shock you. I mean, the speed, the velocity, the accuracy deep is insane, but when you're just throwing a 6-yard slant to a guy, he is still going to throw the exact same ball that he would as if he was throwing the ball 80 yards down the field. And it sounded like some of the players and some of the coaches were having issues catching some of the balls from Joe Milton just because of the velocity on his ball. This dude was whipping every single pass as if he was going 80 yards down the field. As we're with Drake Maye, yes, again, it's only rookie minicamp. Yes, again, they are only a couple of practices in, but from what the media has been saying, from what they saw in this one practice alone, he is looking like a true NFL quarterback. He was able to make every single throw that they were able to see. I mean, short, intermediate, deep. Also, the different types of passes. He has a really good spiral on the ball, really good velocity. He's able to fit passes into tight windows, but he also knows when he just has to lob a ball up to a player and not, throw a rocket into his face mask before he even turns around. So there were definitely some good signs from both of the quarterbacks, both in Drake Maye and Joe Milton, but obviously there were also some concerns, all of which were things that we knew once they were drafted heading out of that 2024 draft. The big difference between the quarterbacks that are in the building versus the quarterback group that the Patriots had this time last year is that there is real arm capability. There's real arm strength. These guys, really between Joe Milton, Drake Maye, even Jacoby Brissett, they're going to be able to launch the ball down the field. They have big arms. They have arm strength and big play potential. It is just the consistency with accuracy that these guys are having issues with. Like I said when they were both drafted, it's kind of the opposite on what it was with Mac Jones. Mac Jones, who was known, at least in the beginning, before his mechanics were messed up, for being a very, very accurate and consistent quarterback, just didn't have, that big arm, that big play potential, and let alone great velocity on the ball. Now, while Drake Maye was significantly better than Joe Milton in this practice, both guys did have issues where balls were just straight up hitting the ground, like weren't even in the vicinity of their receivers. And Drake Maye was actually asked about this after practice. If I remember correctly, it was Tom Curran who kind of asked about how his footwork is kind of being coached so far since he's gotten to New England, because that's been a massive concern with him, right? His accuracy concerns, kind of the poor parts to his play coming out of college all came down to the lower half of his body, which are very, very important both for accuracy and just to play the quarterback position in general. And he touched upon the fact that right now he's being asked to do things that he wasn't necessarily asked to do in North Carolina. Right now, he's playing a lot more under center. Right now, he's playing a lot more in shotgun. All formations that, again, he wasn't very used to playing at the college level, which the Patriots are trying to kind of build around his repertoire, for lack of better words. My positive takeaway with that, though, is the fact that they do understand that with Drake Maye, his biggest issues and biggest struggles do come with the lower half of his body. Like waist down is where he needs improvement, and that if they're able to work on that and get his footwork, kind of just nailed into him and become muscle memory, then a lot of these other issues that he has to his game are going to just naturally fix themselves. Now, as for the offensive line, there's really not too much to take away from this, just because, again, there's no contact. There's no real competitive nature when it comes to defensive line and offensive line. You can't really take too much away from the trenches other than where guys are playing and, of course, how big they are. And when it comes to Caden Wallace, who the Patriots drafted in the 3rd round to play tackle for them, he spent most of the practice playing at left tackle. But Layden Robinson, the guard that the Patriots took in the 4th round, who played he played exclusively right guard at college, he was playing at left guard. Now, with Wallace, this is no surprise. We knew that when they drafted Caden Wallace, the idea was to put him over at left tackle. That's ideally where he's going to play, but if things don't work out, then, maybe a move back to right tackle has the potential. But we know that with the re-signing of Michael Onwenu, at least for this upcoming season, it's Onwenu at right tackle and Wallace as that starting to back up left tackle. As for Layden Robinson, really the question marks about him being drafted all came down to what the thought process was and what his role was going to be. And it's going to be really interesting to see if he continues to take reps at left guard once all of the guys are in the building and it's not just rookie minicamp and needing guys to play in specific places, really just to fill roles. But if they drafted him to be an immediate starter, to immediately replace Cole Strange, then it makes the Layden Robinson pick make so much more sense. Now, I've said this even when he was drafted, I ideally would like to see Layden Robinson play right guard and then put Sidy Sow back to left guard if Cole Strange just isn't in your future or just isn't able to start the regular season. Just because, obviously, Layden Robinson exclusively played right guard in college, put him back to where he's comfortable playing, and then even Sidy Sow played left guard at the collegiate level, and I understand that, this past season, throughout the stretch, he played right guard for New England, but he has mostly experience over on the left side. At the end of the day, they probably feel that it's better to make the rookie who's already having to make the transition from the collegiate level to the NFL level, have him switch positions from the right side over to the left side, rather than messing with the continuity that you already had on the right side of your offensive line last year with Sidy Sow at right guard and then Michael Onwenu at right tackle. But with the versatility that I think a lot of these interior offensive linemen have for the Patriots, I think it's really going to be a battle throughout this offseason and throughout training camp to see who's going to be your starting right guard and who's going to be your starting left guard. Now, it did get a little bit more competitive towards the end of practices, where we did get to see a little bit of 7-on-7 drills. So Drake Maye was 5 for 6 on a light speed 7-on-7 drill. He had completions to David Wallace, Bo Corrales, if I believe I'm saying that right, and Javon Baker, along with Jalen Polk. Joe Milton, on the other hand, he struggled significantly more than Drake Maye did. I mean, he was 1 for 4 on 7-on-7s, but it also does make a lot more sense that Joe Milton did struggle, because on those 7-on-7 drills, they were working more on out routes and shorter passes, where we do know, again, Joe Milton struggles. We got a little bit of news in terms of how these wide receivers are being utilized for the Patriots between Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. So from what was being said, Javon Baker was the primary top X receiver with Drake Maye, while Jalen Polk was typically used as a Z right next to the tight end. And that's probably the most likely scenario, is that Javon Baker ends up playing X for the Patriots, while Jalen Polk is kind of this mismatch that can play the Z. He can play inside, he can play, outside, he can play X, he can play Z. He can really just be played everywhere. But I said this when both of these guys were drafted. I think the intangibles that both of these guys have, at least to start, I would like to see Jalen Polk play the X, just because I think that he's a better go up and get it, more reliable contested catch guy who doesn't have a great route tree, as where Javon Baker, he has some issues with drops. He has some issues with consistencies, but he has a really, really good route tree. He's a really, really good route runner, which I think could fill that Z spot perfectly. But a little bit more offensive line news. Patriots undrafted free agent signing Charles Turner, who is a center. I believe he was from LSU. He was repping at right guard for the Patriots. This was a guy that I think has a lot of potential within the interior of the offensive line. He was probably my favorite overall UDFA signing by the Patriots. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's even a battle too, because we know Drake Maye wants to bring as much competition to practices this offseason as possible. So what if there's this battle between Turner and Jake Andrews for that backup center role to future center role when David Andrews leaves? Overall, today, the top offensive line from left tackle to right tackle was Caden Wallace, Layden Robinson, Ryan Johnson, Charles Turner, and then over at right tackle, you had Hiron White. And then lastly, it sounds like Alex Van Pelt, Patriots' new offensive coordinator, and Ben McAdoo were spending significant one-on-one time with both of these rookie quarterbacks. Obviously makes a lot of sense. There were some questions on, was Ben McAdoo going to serve as more of a behind-the-scenes role to help develop these quarterbacks and analyze which quarterbacks to take, but it does sound like he is going to be working with these guys physically too. And you know what? Honestly, at the end of the day, with the Patriots taking 2 rookie quarterbacks and both of them needing significant help, and of course, quarterback being the most important position, not just in football, but in sports in general, I'm not against them getting as much help as humanly possible. But that is going to be all of your takeaways from the 2024 New England Patriots rookie minicamp. What were your guys' takeaways? And if there's anything you thought that I missed or any takeaways that you had from these notes, go ahead and let me know in the comment section below. Of course, leave a big like on this video and subscribe to the channel for all of your New England Patriots news. Appreciate you all so much for watching as always. And of course, never forget, go Pats.